There's been so much chaos lately, it's hard to keep up, but I just wanted to talk about something that happened last week because I think it says a lot of where we're potentially headed. You might not have even noticed it happened, but last week a single glitch at Google quietly broke huge parts of the internet. Apps failed, smart home devices stopped working, entire systems ground to a halt. Not because the internet went down, like your Wi-Fi still worked, but because the tools behind the tools collapsed. And honestly, that should scare us, even just a little. Because the more automated our world becomes, the more fragile it gets. One failure buried deep in a system most people don't even know exists can ripple outwards and break everything built on top of it. The outage hit tools you've probably never heard of: BigQuery, Cloud DNS, Cloud Run, Cloud SQL, and a bunch more. If you don't know what those are, that's okay. They're what's called an infrastructure as a service or a platform as a service. Think of them as like the digital building blocks that apps and websites and online services are built on. They handle storage, logins, database access, all the unglamorous but critical stuff running in the background. According to Google, the root cause was a faulty update to their service control system, specifically a part of their identity and access management platform. It does kind of what the name suggests. It's a tool that verifies who's using what and whether they're allowed to. The reason why it took so long for service to fully be restored was due to an update made to a system by Google's teams on May 29th. The update that was pushed had no proper error handling, as it wasn't protected behind a feature flag. A feature flag, or a feature toggle, is a way for developers to control whether a specific feature in an app or website is turned on or off without changing the code or redeploying anything. Think of it as like a remote control. They can turn features on for some users, keep them off for others, test things in production, or quickly disable something if it causes problems. It's mainly used for testing, gradual rollouts, and reducing risk when launching updates. Since the update pushed lacked this aspect, it meant there was no easy way to disable it once it did start crashing. If it had been wrapped in a flag, Google could have just toggled it off instead of triggering a crash loop on a global scale. For those not familiar with code, it was kind of a rookie mistake. Not having a safeguard like a feature flag in place, especially at Google's scale, is kind of shocking. It's the kind of oversight you'd expect from a rush junior dev, not a team managing one of the internet's foundational platforms. And it raises an even bigger question: are some of the people in these high-level engineering roles actually operating at the level you'd assume? With how much teams are now leaning on AI tools, it's starting to feel like there's a growing disconnect between job title and actual skill set. I won't go too deep into that for now, but it's something I'll circle back to, because this whole incident kind of shadows the bigger point I'm building towards, which is our creeping over-reliance on automation. Anyways, back to what happened. That single bug led to an invalid quota update across the board, and suddenly, everything that depended on Google's APIs started spitting out 503 errors. Spotify, Discord, Cloudflare, even Google's own tools like Gmail, Docs, and Calendar all started glitching or went offline entirely. So when GCP hiccups, everything it touches breaks. That includes not just consumer apps like Spotify or Discord though, but it also included enterprise tools, AI services, customer infrastructure, and in some cases, even hospitals and schools. According to Google's own status page, this outage hit nearly every major region: the US, Europe, Asia Pacific, the Middle East, and South America. So it wasn't just a localized glitch, it was global. Of course, they've since applied mitigations and reported recovery in most areas, and the outage was really only 3 hours at most, I believe. But the thing is, there was no workaround. If your app relied on GCP, all you could do was wait. And when core APIs and backend services stall, everything built on them becomes unpredictable. Even some Amazon Web Service offerings were affected, which is wild considering AWS runs on Amazon servers, right? Guess not, because as it turns out, some of their tools or partners still route requests through infrastructure that relies on Google Cloud somewhere in the chain. That's how intertwined everything is behind the scenes. Stuff you'd never think is connected is. And in a lot of ways, that's kind of the scary part, given how this minor issue spiraled. The modern internet runs on a surprisingly small number of foundational platforms, and Google Cloud is just one of them, but it's a major one. So when it breaks, it doesn't just impact tech companies. It hits schools, hospitals, support systems, things we all might be relying on. Following the incident, Google actually put out an official apology. In a detailed report released the next day, they admitted that over 70 of their cloud services were affected, impacting platforms like Cloudflare, OpenAI, Shopify, along with their own tools like Gmail, Google Calendar, and Drive. We deeply apologize for the impact this outage has had. Google Cloud customers and their users trust their businesses to Google, and we will do better. We are committed to making improvements to help avoid outages like this moving forward. It's easy to take the internet for granted, but behind the scenes it's a giant mess of moving parts that have to stay perfectly in sync. And honestly, the fact that outages like this aren't more common is kind of a miracle. This isn't about blaming Google. These things do happen. It's just worth remembering that our entire digital world is only as stable as the infrastructure it's built on, and the people who know how to fix it when things go sideways. And that brings me back to AI. As we start relying more on AI to write code, manage infrastructure, and automate critical tasks, what happens if one day those systems go down and the people who used to understand how to fix everything, they're not around to fix it? I know it might sound a little dramatic, but just think about it. If future developers grow up depending on AI tools to do all the heavy lifting, are we slowly erasing the deep technical knowledge that actually keeps the internet running? What if we're also reliant on machine learning models that when those models fail or the servers hosting them go dark, no one remembers how they were built in the first place? You know, it's just a fun little doomsday thought to keep you up at night. You're welcome. To be fair, I also think about this stuff a lot, probably more than I should. Maybe it's because I ingest too much science fiction, but after watching how fast my job was replaced by AI, I worked in animation, and how quickly people are embracing art models as if they are a full substitute for human creativity, I can't help but assume the worst. Anyways, that's pretty much it. If you were affected by the outage or have any thoughts on where this is all headed, please drop a comment. If you think I'm wrong or got anything wrong, please let me know. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you want more existential dread in your life. Until next time.